Welcome to our presentation, How Can Generative AI Help Us Learn About Learning? A Classroom Integration. My name is Dr. Jia Tai from Indiana Institute of Technology, and today with me are two of my students who will be my co-presenters, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Isis.
I'm Kat.
Okay, so they are my students in the class Learning and Cognition, and I figured what could be a better place to try to integrate AI and see how it can affect us, our learning, in either a positive or a negative way. So, here are what we are gonna talk about today. First, I want to give you guys an introduction to generative AI to make sure that we are all on the same page. I understand we are all at different stages in getting to know and using this new emerging technology. And then I will bring you guys the assignment that produced this presentation. After that, my student Kat, she will bring you the comparison between Gemini and Copilot. Then Isis will bring you the comparison between Snapchat AI and Meta AI. Originally, our team has two more students who, for different reasons, couldn't join us today. So I will be present their project comparing different versions of ChatGPT. And finally, we will conclude with a discussion on how Gen AI has changed our learning process and, more importantly, what we can do about it. So, just to make sure that we have our terminology straight, here I present you with a Venn diagram showing the relationships among the different technologies that sometimes we mix the terminologies with. On the most outside circle is artificial intelligence, and that subsume and that includes machine learning. And within machine learning, we have a specific kind of machine learning we call deep learning. And inside of deep learning, we have the infrastructure that brings us generative AI. So generative AI, how is it different from other forms of artificial intelligence? Is that it can generate new content, and within the generative AI, we have a specific kind of generative AI that we call large language models, or LLM for short. So, large language model is a subset of AI models specifically designed to understand and generate human-like tests. So, we do not need to know how to program or code to be able to interact with this infrastructure. So the most important takeaway message from this slide is that LLMs, or large language models, are a subtype of Gen AI. In this presentation, you might see us using LLMs and Gen AIs interchangeably. Just bear in mind that whenever we talk about Gen AI, we're talking about this specific kind of Gen AI called large language models. And before we move on and talk about the assignment that brought us this presentation, I want to make sure that we are aware of all the different types of generative AI on the market. So first, we of course have the text-based large language models, ChatGPT, Copilot, Meta AI, Snapchat AI. Those popular platforms are some of the examples of text-based Gen AI. We also have image-based, for example, DALL-E, which is a product produced by the OpenAI, the same company that gave us ChatGPT, can take textual prompts and generate images. We also have audio-based AI, we have video-based AI, and finally, we have something called a transformer-based models. So ChatGPT, even though it can give us text based output and image-based output. In nature, it's a transformer-based models, meaning that it has multi-modality and can interact with a lot of different forms of information. And finally, without further ado, let me show you guys the peer teaching assignment in the class Learning and Cognition through AI Collaboration. So if you're interested, I can make sure to send you copies of this assignment. But for now, I just want to take you guys through this assignment, through the objectives, the learning outcomes, so that you have a basic ideas of what kind of teaching and learning activities have led us to this step. So the purpose of this assignment is to develop students' ability to use and critically engage with AI tools, to foster a deeper form of learning through peer teaching. By comparing how different LLMs generate information, students will sharpen their analytical skills, improve their collaborative learning, and reflect on the and reflect on the affordances and limitations of AI in educational context. So here are the learning outcomes. So basically, I have students form a pair of two, and those will be the teaching pairs. So each of the teaching pairs, they will choose two out of the six large language models that I have chosen for them, and they will, for example, in the case of Kat and her partner, they chose Copilot and the Gemini. So they will give the same prompt to both large language models, and then they will compare the outcome. They will compare the output from two models, and then they will reflect upon the quality of the work that is produced by the large language models, and finally they will report to the rest of the class what they have learned, and and uh, how the example of in how their learning process can be used and implemented in real life teaching and learning. So let me move on to the next slide. And I want to bring you guys the comparative analysis between Copilot and Gemini, which will be brought to you by Kat.
Our topics was Copilot and Gemini and how cognoscience was explored between both the programs. So the introduction to our LLMs, Copilot, developed by Microsoft. It was formerly known as Bing Chat before February 7th, 2023. Then it was switched over to Copilot as we know it now. It was first released in November 2023. Mostly used in the Microsoft ecosystem. It wasn't really used by like the majority for a while, but then kind of grew out into more people using it. Since December 2023, it added too many copies of the Windows 11 systems for free, so it was everybody could get access to it. You didn't have to pay money for it. It was just there if you wanted to use it. Gemini, it's powered by Google. It's formerly known as Bard. It was first released in March 21st, 2023. There's two versions of it currently, 1.5 Flash and 1.5 Pro. Mostly used to generate text, translate languages, writing on creative context, and answering questions informally. The key takeaways of Copilot is that it's very easy to use. The interface of it is very welcoming. It doesn't take too much like wrap your head around like just how you need to use it. It's friendly and approachable, has a friendly tone, as I kind of just said. It answers common detailed paragraphs, but if you ask for a bullet point or anything other than just the detailed paragraphs, it will give you that. But it's basic is that it wants to give you paragraphs. It gives examples without being prompted, which is amazing. Because in some other ones, you don't get that. You have to ask for an example if you don't understand it. Gemini gives direct and concise answers, unlike the paragraphs of Copilot. Accessible on most devices with more features on Google devices and Pixel phones. Keeps a history of all the chats for the users to review. Copilot also does that. It keeps the history. You can go back through. You can see what you've already asked and what you haven't asked. You can expand on questions on both. And it will just keep you more information until you fully understand the topic you're asking the AI to answer for you. The example prompt that we used was cognitive dissonance, which is a psychological phenomenon where an individual experiences mental discomfort or stress due to holding two or more contradictory beliefs, values, or attitudes simultaneously. It's like a mental tug of war almost. And so the real life example that we have here is more so just along the lines of when you want to indulge in eating junk food but you know it's not good for you, but you want to have it. And so this is experiencing cognitive dissonance because you're trying to live a healthy lifestyle, but you really want junk food because it makes you happy or something. But you know you shouldn't have it, but you really want to. That's cognitive dissonance. Is that internal conflict between wanting one thing and wanting another and having to live with the in-between of what one should you do. For Gemini, we asked them to also list what cognitive dissonance could be. These inconsistencies, as Gemini said, can lead to feelings of unease, anxiety, or guilt. To reduce this discomfort, people often engage in various strategies such as stated by Gemini, changing one of the conflicting beliefs, adding new cognitions, downplaying the importance of the conflicting belief, avoiding information that contradicts existing beliefs. And it was all fairly similar, but Gemini, as you can tell, gave bullet points instead of just putting out a very large paragraph that you have to read through. Personal reflections, strengths of Copilot, friendly and approachable, professional and detailed. Gemini, as for its strengths, provides links to site, clear, indirect, accessible, provides draft responses to choose from. Weaknesses for Copilot, paragraphs and wordy. There's a lot of words that you have to read through, which can be seen as a weakness if you don't like reading paragraphs. Gemini can be biased, as can all platforms that are made by AI. Makes mistakes, but tells you to double check answers. Applications to educational settings. Personalized education plans, PAPs, or personalized learning plans, PLPs. You can ask the AI to write you one of these plans, and so it takes stress off of your plate and almost writes you this thing for yourself. You should likely go back and check it, but it will get the brunt work of it done for you. Generating quizzes and examples, same thing. You can ask it to write it for you and it'll do it. Updating syllabus and license plans. Again, it will do just about anything you ask it to do. It can do streamline routine work, email, scheduling. It can do tutoring, it can do grading. And this is all just really helpful when it comes to educational settings because it can take stress and weight off of professors' shoulders who are trying to do their job without making their own life harder.
Okay, and now let's move on to the next comparison. And this time is a comparison between two platforms that's based on the social media platforms that the younger generations will frequent. One is Snapchat, the other is the Meta AI. And this time, it's Isis and her partner trying to investigate the dual coding theory through the two platforms. And let's see how the two platforms can help or inhibit their learning in this process.
So, as Gia said, me and my partner, we chose to look at dual coding theory using popular social media AI. The first one is Meta AI. It's owned by Meta, previously known as Facebook, and you can access it through its website, meta.ai, or Facebook and Instagram chat. As for Snapchat AI, it's owned by Snapchat Incorporated, but it can only be accessed through the app itself. My key takeaways between Meta AI and Snapchat AI. For Meta, there's a lot of bullet pointed, concise answers, and it deepens your understanding by giving you further questions related to your initial question. And then it also gives you realistic examples to use in fields that you would like, for example, a classroom. As for Snapchat AI, it has instant access to information, making overall research time a lot more efficient. It has personalized responses based off what is asked and the user itself, and it offers multiple answer choices and follow-up questions in different formats as you ask it. So, an example prompt that me and my partner use is, what is dual coding theory and how does it suggest that visual and verbal information are processed differently? Meta AI opens up with an initial um, information dump in just a small paragraph, and then it breaks each component into headings and bullet points. As for Snapchat AI, every information it gives you is a paragraph, but it's a bullet pointed paragraph, so there's not as much use of headings and subheadings. Some personal reflections that we had of the two platforms. For the strengths of Meta AI, it had a consistent structure. As mentioned, it was the paragraph and then heading and then bullet point. It provides possible prompts for further discussion. If you don't know where to go and research, it'll ask you a question related to what you first put into the prompt to help you research further and know more details about it that you might not have thought of before. And it gives you thorough answers without providing too much information, convoluting the whole entry. And then for Snapchat AI, it also provides follow-up questions based off the response itself. And it offers multiple ways to display responses if you want them shorter or longer to make them more detailed or more comprehensible. And then it personalizes responses so they're easy to comprehend for the user. As for weaknesses, because dual coding theory relies on visual and verbal information, I chose to ask for a visual depiction of the theory. And as you can see, the pictures don't really show too much. The first one I asked if it could give me information on how it is applied in a classroom, and I was hoping to see something like a slideshow as well as a paper, but it just kind of showed a classroom itself. And then I asked, can you describe dual coding theory in an image overall? And that's what that picture on the right is, and there's not much information to pull from it. And furthermore, the responses took a lot longer than what a simple Google search would, so that wasn't too helpful when it comes to wanting to make research more efficient. As for Snapchat AI, there are no visuals provided. It is solely through text, and it's unable to define gaps in knowledge. So if the AI doesn't understand it, then it can't provide you any information further. To apply these to the educational settings, we found that it was a great initial search into the topic and wanting to know different subtopics that relate to the overall topic. It can be used for brainstorming and data tracking, and it provides good supplementary content to the main content that's being used in classrooms. And you can organize information such as long essays or video content. It will help you know how to break apart the information you're giving it into headings and just different body paragraphs as we need.
Okay, so now I will, on behalf of my student Alex, I will bring you the comparison between two models of ChatGPT. That will be ChatGPT Mini and it will be ChatGPT 4.0 Mini and for 4.0. And the question Alex and her partner tries to investigate through those two large language models, or more precisely, two versions of large language models, are the cognitive load. So, a little bit of background information about those large language models. So, ChatGPT really blew up the market of generative AI or large language models in November 2022. That's when the ChatGPT 3.5 model was released. Now, when you go to ChatGPT, you won't be able to see the 3.5 model because OpenAI discontinued it. So that means that they will no longer do maintenance on that model. And now it's 4.0 model and up. So 4.0 model it became available in March 2023, and 4.0 mini on the other hand, as the name suggested, is a more cost efficient model. By cost, we mean the literal cost to run the servers, to cool the servers, to do the daily maintenance. So according to a report from OpenAI, they estimate gross cost of every question, of every prompt and outcome came down to about 37 cents for the 4.0 mini. So that's why it has become so affordable, not only to companies but to individual users. And both models have the ability for you to upload tests and images, and potentially there will be more use for different modalities in the future. So for those of us who are very well versed in Gen AIs, you might have noticed there is a new product from ChatGPT. It's called Sora. It allows you to produce short videos, more like snaps. They're usually 3 to 5 seconds based on your verbal prompt. So that's another new fun toys that we get to play with. And ChatGPT, they also have speech to text features. So I made a mistake of putting ChatGPT on my phone, and once when I was having dinner with my friend, and I don't know which keyword that we said has triggered the app on my phone. Suddenly, ChatGPT started chiming in our conversation, and that was a scare, and I don't like that at all. I have to figure out how to turn that off. So, like Alexa, Siri, and now ChatGPT, now our own conversations are no longer confidential, and that's one of the biggest issues currently in the hands of the policy and lawmakers. So how can we make those new technology function within the bounds of our morals and ethical standards? But I digress. So a little bit more about the two versions. So the one on the left is from 4.0 mini. The one on the right is from 4.0. So the question that Alex and her partner asked is, what is uh, cognitive load theory, and what are the different types of cognitive load? And we can see on the left-hand side, 4.0 mini didn't give us a lot of information, but just enough to show any layperson what is the theory. And and it also choose to dive a little bit deeper into something called the germane load. That is one form of the cognitive load. We don't know for sure why among all the different cognitive load it chose germane load. It's probably based on its own learning. It finds out that germane load is one of the loads that a lot of people have questions about. That could be the reason why it chose to dive in this components much deeper. And on the right hand side of this slide, you can see 4.0's output is more hierarchically organized. So it starts with an introductory paragraph detailing what is CLT and what are the key features of the theory, and what is this theory in what's its intended use. So they say the theory it focuses on the capacity of working memory and how instructional design can optimize learning by managing the cognitive load. Here are the key components. So for those of you who use large language models or ChatGPT particularly very frequently in their day-to-day work, you might notice there is a certain format that its output will follow. It will start with an introductory paragraph, and then it will break down into subsections, and in the end they will have a summary paragraphs, and they use bullet points, and they have those different type of markdown format, which makes the detection of cheating with AI. We will talk more about this in a little bit. Very easy to detect if the user just simply copy and paste it on their own work, because you will be able to see the markdown symbols, which is usually marked by 2 asterisks, I believe. So if I had a student who just directly copied and pasted a prompt from ChatGPT, which is not recommended, and submit it as their own work, and I didn't even have to do any kind of further reading. I just have a scan of the format, and I can tell it's from ChatGPT. So here are some of the personal reflection on the strengths and weaknesses of the 2 model from Alex and her team. So in comparison to 4.0, the 4.0 Mini is more clear and to the point, which means that it won't overwhelm you, or it won't overload your cognitive resources, which is kind of funny since we are on the topic of the cognitive load. However, since it's so short and concise, it usually lacks real world examples. It just gives you enough information to go on with your research. So it will serve as a very good introductory or a starting point for your own learning process. 4.0, on the other hand, it will provide you with examples without being prompted. In this way, it's very much like Copilot and I believe Snapchat AI. And it also will break the concept down to smaller sections. It breaks the load down to all the key components. So, but the flip side of that, it's always 2 sides of the same coin. The flip side of being so thorough is possibly it will give you a lot of unnecessary information. And for an untrained eye or for a layperson, that might be too much information, and which also will discourage them to engage in their own critical thinking from asking additional questions, because it kind of foresees the kind of questions that you might ask, and it would already give that to you. So we can see a potentially missed learning opportunity here. And as for the applications for educational settings, it's very similar to the previous 2 teams. They all mention something like study guides or lesson plans, even though one can argue that by coming up with your own study guides or with your own lesson plans, it itself is a very important learning process. And having a large language model doing this for you might cause some missed opportunities here. And we can have a more in-depth discussion in a later section. But I believe it all has to do with the intention with which you are using the platforms. If you're using this platform to extend your own learning, to do what you can afford to do, both time-wise and resource-wise, then you probably will be using the large language models for good. But if you're just using it to take some mental shortcuts, then probably there will be missed learning opportunities here and there. And for educators ourselves, we can now use the large language models to update our lesson plans and our lectures more frequently. I used to only be able to do this every 1 or 2 years, but now with the help of ChatGPT and my personalized GPT, you can create your own chat box that has your voice and your teaching philosophy, so on and so forth, incorporated in it. I can afford to do it every semester, and which benefits not only my practice because I will update the literature, but also it allow me to bring more new up-to-date information to my students. And you can also ask the platforms to give you some evaluation ideas. For example, whenever you want to come up with practice quiz or pop quizzes, you no longer have to sit there and think of different case studies yourself. You can have a framework and have ChatGPT or whatever large language models that you're using to come up with some scenarios for you, and then you pick the ones that you like. And so according to the research from Alex's team, they suggest students or they encourage students to use them more as a resource rather than a replacement for their own learning. And in the end, like we have touched upon before, whichever model is preferred really depends on your purpose and your intent. It can be used as a tool to enhance the learning process. It's very important to use in moderation and to use properly and never do what the other student of mine did. Never copy and paste and use word for word and replace your research. It's very important to do your own research, not only because those are important skills that needs honing and updating, but more importantly, if you don't do your own research, I have this fear because nowadays no one would remember. Well, few people will remember more than two different cell phone numbers, their own or their significant others. Even though I sometimes struggle to provide my own number when I was in a pharmacy, that's because the use of the contacts on our phone has proved this skill obsolete. But that's not a big deal. I mean, not being able to remember phone numbers does not decrease the quality of our work, our thinking. But not being able to do your own research for an extended period of time, that leads to more serious concern. That could lead to the cognitive erosion in the analytical or critical thinking abilities, which I don't think that we can afford to lose. So let's get into the more interesting part of this presentation, which is how is generative AI or large language models changing the way we learn? Yeah, it's already changing the way we learn because now instead of saying, oh, go Google it, people are starting to say, go GPT it or go ask Gemini, and what we can do about it. So we can already see, and my students all agree, we can see a shift of the key abilities from generations to evaluations. So among the recommended uses for large language models, we have the use for I'll use it to brainstorm or use it as a sounding wall to help you sort through your different thoughts. And so in this way, we can already seeing a shift in the critical abilities that employers or higher ed values, slowly shifting from generation to evaluation. But that leads the question. I mean, if you no longer generate enough original content, how do you maintain your ability to evaluate, to tell the good work from not so good work intact? So, unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for that. I'm merely here to raise questions and to encourage us keep having this conversation, keep having this dialogue, so we can figure out as a community what we should do to make sure to have our intelligence and human dignity intact, while also can reap the benefits of those new models. So here are some of the essential skills that I believe will remain essential even with the very amazing computation abilities of generative AI or large language models. So the one of the most important newer skill is what we call is called AI literacy or trust calibration. So now the newer versions of the large language models, when you look at when you go into their when you go into their user's interface, under the chat box, you will see a small fine print saying something along the lines of so and so platform can make mistakes. Always double check and make sure that you don't perpetuate the misinformation or disinformation. So that is part of the AI literacy, is to have the awareness or the understanding of AI can produce faulty outcomes. And AI cannot really think, because thinking is the ability that higher intelligence mammals have, which AI is just a bunch of algorithms that's very good at pattern learning and predicting. So, as the AI assisted decision making becomes more and more prevalent, students must understand when to trust or when to question the AI output, which requires us to have a good understanding of AI's strengths or weaknesses. And that's why assignments like this, where allowing students to play with AI, play with different AI platforms, will give them the learning opportunity to start to understand what tasks are AI very good at and what tasks are AI probably not so good at, or definitely requires human oversight. And when should those oversight come in? That is the more important question. And of course, critical thinking and problem solving will remain very essential skills, because even AI can generate solutions, but AI doesn't make decisions. At least I hope it's not going to make decisions without human oversight. So humans must be able to interpret, refine, and apply the selected output from AI in appropriate context. And this is also a time where interdisciplinary collaboration and communication becomes very critical. I'm very tempted to get another degree in philosophy, simply because a lot of the ethical dilemmas uh, has arise, and we need to have a good understanding of both ethics, philosophy, problem solving, and AI technology, psychology, and sociology. We need to bring this all together so that we can have the kind of human AI partnerships that succeed. And it only succeed when team can communicate effectively. That's both between human agents, human and AI, and AI and AI. And finally, it has become more important than ever to have a good ethical AI understanding and responsible use. So, very unfortunately, the United States kind of lags behind in terms of the AI regulation compared to Europe. Europe have the AI Act. So, we definitely need to have a good understanding of the downfalls, limitations, and embedded bias in the AI system, because AI is trained on human data, and as human, we are very biased and limited ourselves in many different shapes and forms. So will the AI that's trained on human data. So future professionals must be able to evaluate the AI ethics in decision making and data usage, and it comes with privacy that I previously has touched upon, the transparency of the decision making, who's going to take the responsibility when things go south, because AI surely can't take responsibility, and then it must fall on the human agent or the human team. Okay, and we can also see there is a potential when we talk about the fairness of use and equity. We all know that different AI products, it comes with different prices. So if you want to have unlimited ChatGPT use, you have to pay the $20 per month. So what about the population that cannot, the demographics that cannot afford to pay for the paid version of large language models? Then that means the gap between A level and C level work will only widens, because AI literacy, it also comes with its own privilege. It means that you need to be in a context, in a situation where you can be exposed to those kind of training, and not everyone is privileged enough to be exposed to those kind of training. And I'll let my students tell you more about in the AI age what can motivate students to do the hard work, to not take the mental shortcut that can be provided by AI.
So when it comes to using AI in the classroom, I think rightfully so, there's a concern that students are going to use AI and kind of not use any more of their own critical thinking skills or judgment. And as Gia mentioned earlier, when it comes to using AI, intent is important. And I think it's important also to note that this intent should be taught in the classrooms to encourage students to apply the hard work, and to value hard work over using the AI as an easy tool. So here are 5 different points that can help encourage students to use the hard work or to follow hard work as opposed to using AI as an easy out. The first one is teaching AI as a complementary tool, not as a replacement. It's important that students know their actual thoughts, their critical thinking and judgment is something that can't be replaced by AI. AI can only add details to it, maybe through research, but it's not ever going to replace a student's genuine words written from their own beliefs and thoughts. The other one is promote active engagement over passive AI reliance. This is similar to the intent. Students need to, if they are going into using AI, they need to intentionally use it and mindfully use the content they're getting out of AI as opposed to just using AI to get an assignment done. Um, Providing hands-on AI experimentation. There's so much to AI that is kind of confusing in ways how it is written out, how there are biases, and how there are flaws in it. Because I think a lot of students go into AI believing that it is a full credible source, but it's not. There are issues in it. And so by providing students with experimentation in the classroom using AI, they can experience the limitations that AI has and learn that it's not the go-to answer for assignments. And then encourage ethical AI engagement. So, as I said earlier, AI has biases, and students witnessing these biases and understanding, learning these biases that they're taught in AI helps them know that AI is not the solution to the work they're trying to use it for. And it helps students also learn how to properly use AI when they want to incorporate it into their work. And finally, fostering resilience and adaptability. The job market is further and further relying on students understanding the impact of AI and how to properly use AI. And so, in that way, they have to adapt for their futures. And I think, in the same sense, students need to learn how to adapt in the classroom in order to use AI properly, and learn the limitations and when to use it, when not to use it. So then they can take that adaptability that they learn in a classroom and use it in the future job market.
Thanks, Isis. And Kat, do you have any thoughts on or suggestions or final takeaway information on how teachers can enhance or improve students' motivation and encourage them not to use AI as a shortcut, rather as a learning tool?
Well, let's think about it this way. It starts with the why. Why do we use AI? Why was AI created in the first place? It's AI has been established to help everybody further their knowledge and education and their job. But now we also need to learn that by doing so, you can't put yourself at risk. You have to make sure that you're using it correctly. You have to make sure that you've had enough experience with it where you don't get yourself in trouble by using it to further your own knowledge of what you do. There's a process to using AI. You can't abuse AI, you can't misuse AI. You have to use AI to further yourself and not use yourself to further AI. And that's just the emphasis on the process by Bronwyn and Watson 2024. yeah, 2024.
Yeah. So for some of you, you might. So for those of you who haven't heard of Teaching with AI, the book that's created by Jose Bowen and Watson in 2024. We highly recommend that book. It's a very hands-on book with both philosophies and empirical practices or example assignments that can kind of guide the educators into incorporating AI in our teaching practices. Because with the future job market the way it is, we would be doing our students a disservice if we are trying to isolate them or protect them from the big bad AI, as a lot of educators view it, which I totally understand where you came from. But there's no protecting students from the future job market if that's a way it's heading. So it's very important to at least help the students increase their AI literacy so that they are prepared when they are competing with AI agents or human AI team in the future job markets. So like Kat said, we need to really look back and refine our intentions. Why are we doing certain things? Why are we doing this assignments? So if students have a better idea of the intention or the goal behind a certain assignment, and they can resonate with that assignment, they know it's going to do them good when they come out from the other end, they might be less inclined to use AI to shortcut the whole process. And another thing that Kat has mentioned is that we have to protect the integrity of the human intelligence, the dignity of our work. That means that to support and groom our agency, including our students' agency, and with agency comes from choice, comes from purpose. The students first have to see the purpose, the meaning of the assignments, and then they feel like they own the process. They can make certain decisions. They are in control. Then they are more motivated to do their own work. And finally, when you are playing and experimenting with a new technology, there is bound to there is bound to be a lot of trial and errors. So if we provide this safe space where students see that it's a process that we are putting emphasis on, and wherever we put our emphasis on, we need to show it with grades or whatever credits that we're giving the students so that they can see that if they walk the process through in the right way, in the appropriate way, they will have a good grade no matter what the end result will look like. So here is a presentation that we brought to you that borrowed from our peer teaching assignment in learning and cognition at Indiana Tech. And we hope that you have learned something about the AI system, about the teaching practices that could potentially benefit you and your student, and we welcome any questions and feedback that you may have. Thank you for sharing this 15 minutes with us, and we hope you can have fun playing with AI and embrace this new technology, even though very nervously, but still we have to embrace the inevitable. Thank you all for coming.